Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. Whoever you are, whether you're rich or poor, old or young, gay or straight or whatever the color of your skin, your gender identity, your ethnic or religious background, whether you're here in person or joining us on YouTube, you are welcome here. Whether you are a longtime member or with us for the first time today or anything in between, our community is richer and more complete because you are here. We are blessed to be able to share truths, stories, and spiritualities in and from this beautiful place which sits on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people who continue to call for justice and self-determination. Most of you will have noticed that I am not Jim Shibley. Any of you who came because you wanted to see Jim? I'm shorter, that's right. By quite a bit. Any of you who came because you wanted to see Jim up here, come back next week because he will be next week's worship associate. Meanwhile, I am a member of the Worship Associates ministry team, and I am this week's worship associate, sharing the chancel with our beloved interim minister, Kathy Harrington. As always, thanks to all the folks whose efforts combined to make this service possible, from Jen in the church office, to the tech team, to our incomparable music ministry, and I heard a little bit of what they're doing today, and it's gonna blow you away. It truly takes a village to make a service. Sarah, our gatekeeper, is out sick and apparently may be out for a while. So while she's out, we're kindly asking everybody to help keep our spaces tidy, particularly in the parish hall. Keep it tidy by hanging up your chair after you use it, and if you're able, you might even help to put away a table or two. Every bit of help is appreciated to keep our space welcoming. And now, Maria Testa has an important announcement from our social justice ministry team.
Good morning. Fran and I are the same height, so this works. I'm here today representing social justice because we are once again going to be furnishing a home for a refugee family. And we'll be working again with Justin Palazzo from the International Institute, who is hoping to come today, but his baby is sick, so maybe next week. But anyway, look for our table in the parish hall. You have your choice of many different items that we've written on different cards that you can furnish, and if everybody furnishes one or two things, it's very easy to do. Return them to church in the next couple weeks. You can also sign up if you'd like to help us actually furnished the house, which was very fun, or if you have furniture that you might want to donate, that can be picked up by International Institute. So we have a little slideshow at our table, and I will be there, and Julie and Janie Kostreba, so please stop by. Thanks.
Next Friday, November 8th, is the deadline to order your wreaths or poinsettias. And Andrea, where's Andrea? Is Andrea in here? Yes, see, Andrea Burke, you have a table in the parish hall? A table in the parish hall today to order your festive plants and wreaths for Christmas. Also in the parish hall, you will find an auction table. Most of you should have gotten with your order of service a little slip of paper like this, which lists all the things that are still available from our auction, which happened last spring, but it's still going on until everything is sold. So take a look at the list. I think there's a table in the parish hall. You can check that out and buy something that you were thinking about but hadn't done yet. All right. There is so much going on here this week and beyond it that I can't read you all the announcements, or it would take all morning. There's all kinds of ways to help out, to get help, to learn something, to deepen your connections. It's all in the, what? E-Blast, which comes out every week. This week you'll find news and invitations from the garden team, the food ministry, the music ministry, the women's society, religious education, the auction, the Unitarian Universalist Association, and more. If you're not getting the e-blast in your email, you can leave a request at the member table to be added to the mailing list, and you can always find it very easily on our website, buffalouu.org. There's a button on the very front page to click for the e-blast, and another one to click for this month's newsletter. And so make sure you read it, because if you don't, you will miss something that you wanted not to miss. Now, deep breath. Let's take a moment to deepen our connections with our old friends and create some connections with new ones by greeting our neighbors. And if you prefer to sit quietly in your seat and just listen to the happy buzz, it's always fine to do that too.
Yes, I think it's,
Well, whatever you want.
okay. Make a couple notes, because it's not here. The bell. The bell's not here.
Oh, well, everybody strike it for that? You know what, things disappear when they use this room for something. Like our piece of wood.
Can I hear it?
have to say something to Jesse to be careful that things get put back.
Sorry, the bell is missing. The mystery bell is missing. Good morning. It's good to see all of you this morning. It's good to be together again. My call to worship this morning, I'm Reverend Kathy Harrington. I guess it says that in your order of service. I'm the interim minister here, and it's been a real privilege, and time is coming to an end. I mean, like June, but it's less than a year. My husband's delighted that I'm coming home. Reverend J. Abernathy wrote these words: "We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star, and we pledge our hearts and minds and hands to challenge injustice with courage and compassion, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus we do covenant with each other." We have 2 chalice lightings this morning. The first is by Reverend Lindsay Bates. "To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terror, a chalice of courage. And to face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits and our hearts and our lives."
Please rise in body or spirit as we say together the words for chalice lighting you'll find in your order of service. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world. Did you like the chalice?
Oops. Do you think I'm a little scattered?
2 sets of words, no chalice.
Okay, so I messed it up too.
Not working?
We have another candle? All right, you guys start singing.
Well, all right. Would you open your teal hymnals to hymn number 1045? There is a balm in Gilead.
So I invite the children and the young at heart to come hear the story for all ages. And any of you of any age can come if you can get up off the floor or even get down there. Good morning. Oh, it's so good to see you all. Hi. Welcome. Are you related, you two? Sister, brother? Same eyes? So the story this morning is called I'm Sorry You Got Mad. Does anybody know this story? Has anybody ever been mad? Okay. Oh, goodness. So it starts off, sorry. I'm going to just trust that they're getting these pictures right. Sorry, Zoe. Jack. Jack doesn't look happy, does he? Grr, whir. He's sharpening his pencil again and again because he keeps rewriting this message to Zoe. Dear Zoe, I'm sorry you got so mad. Jack. Oh, yeah, thank you. Dear Zoe, I'm sorry you got mad, but it wasn't my fault. Jack. Did you ever hear that kind of apology before? Mm-hmm. Dear Jack, come check in with me, please. Love, Miss Rice. Dear Zoe, Miss Rice says I have to say I'm sorry for real, so I'm sorry for real that your castle got knocked over. But it still wasn't my fault. Jack. Dear Zoe, I knocked over your castle and I'm sorry, but it was an accident. So I'm sorry about that accident, and I'm sorry if it made you mad also. Yours truly, Jack. It's getting a little better. Ah, dear Zoe, your castle was really cool, and I'm sorry that such a cool castle got knocked over. I hope you're not too sad. It looked like a lot of fun to play in. Are you going to build another one? Sincerely, Jack. Dear Zoe, Miss Rice says that a real apology has to say 3 things. What I did, that I'm sorry, and that I'll help you fix it. And that is the Cliff Notes to restorative justice. So, I knocked over your castle. I'm sorry, I guess. You could build another one if you wanted to, and I won't knock it down again, okay? Jack. Oh, today's assignment, paint your feelings. How do you think Jack's feeling? Dear Zoe, do you remember yesterday when you built a different castle and you and Nia and Maddie were playing in it? I wanted to play too, but I couldn't, and that got me mad. So someone should say sorry to me, because that's why I knocked your castle down today, from Jack. Uh-oh, sounds like somebody we know's apologies. Yeah, things are getting real. Oh gosh, he tries over and over, doesn't he? Poor Jack, this is not easy. It's really hard sometimes to say you're sorry and really mean it. Dear Zoe, you built a really cool castle yesterday, and I wanted to play in it with you, but Ben and Jeremy said I couldn't because castles are for girls. And that made me mad and sad. So I knocked your castle down because I couldn't play in it. I'm really sorry, Jack. Uh-oh, Miss Rice says, Dear Jack, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'll talk to Ben and Jeremy. Could we check in about your letter? You're almost there. Love, Miss Rice. She's a very sweet teacher, isn't she? Oh, they have things on, they have like a covenant up here. Be prepared to learn, be kind to others, try your best, be respectful, be honest, believe in yourself, and have fun. I like that one. Dear Zoe, I'm very sorry I knocked down your castle. I know I hurt your feelings. I want to help you build a new one, if that's okay, but you don't have to let me. Your friend, Jack. Wow, that teacher's got her hands full. That's why I'm a minister, not a teacher. Okay. Dear Jack, thank you for your note. I was so mad at you, but I'm feeling better now. You can help me build a new castle if you want. And thanks for saying sorry, from Zoe. Hi, Zoe. Thanks for letting me play in your castle. I had fun. Let's build another tomorrow. Love, Jack. And that's the end. So what did you think? What was your favorite part? You want to come up?
Them building a castle together.
They finally got to build a castle together. That was really great. Anybody else?
I liked it.
You liked it?
Ah,
Brilliant. You?
I was asleep the whole time, so I don't know. But
Okay. Well, I don't know about you, but I felt like I learned something from that story. Do you think you did? You think maybe next time you have to make an apology, you'll think about Jack? Yeah. And how simple. I mean, wow, she went from never wanting to speak to him again to opening her heart. She was willing to accept it. So that's another part. That's another lesson in this story, is that when an apology is really sincere and done well, we should open our hearts, because that's really important, that we don't hang on to anger. All right? Thank you all for listening. And we're going to sing you to your classes.
Okay. Each week, we take a good portion of our offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. November's Share the Plate recipient is Most Valuable Parents, MVP, originally founded in response to gun violence in the city of Buffalo. Do we have somebody from MVP here today? Oh, dear. Well, I will read a little bit about it, and we'll see how we fit that in. I'll let you finish. Yeah. MVP is committed to uniting parents to create programming, support, and services aimed at steering youth away from violence. MVP endeavors to fulfill its mission through individual and family life skills training, community outreach, supportive living, youth and community programs, along with partnerships with other organizations. MVP has well over 1,000 members who have signed up to help over the last 6 years. Under the leadership of Executive Director Mia Ayers-Gross, MVP has also become an official chapter of Brady, a national foundation working against gun violence. You have probably been getting emails from Brady lately. You can support our Share the Plate ministry, as always, by dropping cash or check in the offering plate, or you can give online by going to our website, buffalouu.org, and clicking on the donate button. You can also arrange with your bank for a regular automatic deposit. If you're writing a check, please write share or pledge on the memo line to make clear where your offering should go. Freely have we received of gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. In gratitude and generosity, we now give and receive our offering.
In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let us open our hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain, and the soft, gentle coming of love. We'll begin our centering time this morning with a piece by Reverend Victoria Safford called Map of the Journey in Progress. Here's where I found my voice and chose to be brave. Here's a place where I forgave someone against my better judgment, and I survived that, and unexpectedly, amazingly, I became wiser. Here's where I was once forgiven and was ready for once in my life to receive forgiveness and to be transformed. And I survived that also. I lived to tell the tale. This is the place where I said no, more loudly than I thought I ever could, and everybody stared. But I said no loudly anyway, because I knew it must be said. And those staring settled down into harmless, ineffective grumbling. And over me, they had no power anymore. Here's a time, and here's another, where I laid down my fear and walked right into it, right up to my neck in that roiling water. Here's where cruelty taught me something, and here's where I was first astonished by gratuitous compassion, and I knew it for the miracle it was, the requirement it is. It was a trembling time. And here much later is where I returned the blessing clumsily. It wasn't hard, but I was unaccustomed. It cycled around, and as I best I could, I sent it back out, passed along the gift. This circular motion around and around has no apparent end. Here's a place, a murky puddle, where I have stumbled more than once and fallen. I don't know yet what to learn there. On this site, I was outraged, and rage sustains me still. It clarifies my seeing. And here's where something caught me, a warm breeze in late winter, bird song in late summer. And here's where I was told that something was wrong with my eyes, that I see the world strangely. And here's where I said, yes, I know. I walk in beauty. And here's where I began to look with my own eyes and listen with my ears and sing my own song, shaky as it is. Here is where, as if by a surgeon's knife, my heart opened up. And here, and here, and here. These are the landmarks of conversion. So now it's time for us to hold in our hearts a joy from Caitlin Steinberg. Happy birthday to her firstborn nephew on November 5th. And also this morning, let us hold Eve Holberg and Doug Sherman in our hearts. Doug is dealing with challenging health issues at the moment, and he wants to say thank you for all the cards that you have sent. Please, no phone calls or visits, but the cards mean so much. So send Doug a card, and let us hold him in our hearts as we honor the silence this morning. I invite you now to lift up the name of someone in your heart who is suffering in silence or celebrating in joy. Doug. May they feel our embrace. Every name a breath, and every breath a prayer. And let the church say, Amen.
Anthony de Mello tells the story of a former inmate of a Nazi concentration camp who was visiting a friend who had shared that ordeal with him. "Have you forgiven the Nazis?" he asked his friend. "Yes," said the friend. "Well, I haven't. I'm still consumed with hatred for them." "In that case," said his friend gently, "they still have you in prison." I have pondered that little story for a long time, literally for years. And I still wonder, how is it possible to forgive something so evil? What would that even feel like? I have learned one thing, that forgive and forget is bad advice. Forgiving is not forgetting. Indeed, as theologian Paul Tillich wrote, forgiving presupposes remembering. In fact, forgiving is exactly the opposite of forgetting, of wiping out the past, of denying or explaining away what happened. The harm we need to forgive may not be as great as that of the Nazis. Maybe it might be, but maybe it's not. But it's still real. The harm is real. The pain is real. Forgiveness, somebody said, has to admit and rage over and weep over a real evil, and then say, in spite of that, we're going to live in communion with one another. We are going to carry on. For me, one of the hardest things to grasp about this is that our forgiveness may not even involve the other person, at least not directly. The Nazis in the story have not asked for forgiveness, and they never will. And yet, by holding on to his hatred and withholding his forgiveness, the former prisoner is not punishing them, but himself. I have to admit that when someone has hurt me, sometimes I want to cling to my anger at them. I want to hold on to my pain. I feel like they deserve my anger. They deserve to see how I'm suffering because of what they did. Letting go of all that feels like letting them off the hook. But sooner or later, every time, I realize that I'm the one on the hook. I realize once again that holding on to my anger and victimhood to punish them, and you've heard this one before, is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Maybe I'll get the apology I want, and maybe I won't. Maybe the other person knows they hurt me, and maybe they don't. Either way, the forgiving begins as I take the first step to move on past my hurt and anger and relate to the other person as a whole human being, not just as the one who hurt me. It may take a while. I think sometimes forgiveness is not a decision, but a process. Not a giant step, but a whole series of baby steps. I may always remember what happened, but one day I may realize that the pain and anger are no longer a burden I have to carry with me everywhere I go. And then I have found my way to forgiveness. And now our speaker from MVP to tell us a little about it is here, and I invite you to come up.
Hello, my name is Mia Ayers-Goss, and I'm the Executive Director of MVP, Most Valuable Parents of Buffalo. And I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my organization. I promise to be very, very brief. I apologize for coming into your service late. I accidentally went to the wrong Unitarian Universalist out on the one in Amherst. So I apologize. My son is in ICU, and my mind is just not totally clear right now. But our organization, we fight to reduce, well, we don't fight, sorry. We work to reduce violence. And we believe reducing violence takes working with families to get to the root cause. We believe that when someone does something violent or something bad, usually there's something that, it stems from something in their life. So we work to help families, mainly parents. Well, we work with youth a lot as well, but we want to help get to the core. You know, why are you angry? Is it that you don't have food? Is it that you don't have training? You don't have education? Is it domestic violence? What is the cause? So we are looking for volunteers. You don't have to come into the area and work directly with the people. You absolutely can. But there are multiple things you can do from your home, making phone calls, sending emails, introducing people, creating relationships, developing programs. So we're definitely looking for help. I will leave my cards with Jill, who so graciously invited us here. And I thank you so much for inviting me here again. And my website, I will leave my website so that you can look at the website and see what we do. And in any way, shape, or form, we thank you. We invite you to help us. Like I said, my mind is not totally clear. But when I did go to the other church, they had a saying on the sign in the front that said, "We do not have to think alike in order to love alike." And I truly believe that. It doesn't matter, where you come from, but we all live here in Buffalo, in the surrounding areas, and we have to work together in order to make this a better place, whether it's making it cleaner, less violent, more vibrant, prosperous. We have to do it together. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mia, for sharing that. And our heart embraces you right now. We'll be thinking of your son. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, I'm grateful that this was the organization for this particular sermon, because I really believe that had there been this kind of an intervention in the murderer of my daughter's life when he was young, that this may have never happened. So This work is so powerfully important. I hope you'll support it. Okay, that song threw me for a loop here. That's such a beautiful song. Forgiveness, an Exploration is a book by Marina Cantacuzino. It's her second book, and it grew out of 20 years of collecting stories when she first founded the Forgiveness Project in 2023. And she's from the UK. Marina explores the complicated and controversial meaning of forgiveness. But this one has a depth that can only arise out of the deep wrestling and reflection of someone who has lovingly and respectfully listened without judgment to the most difficult and painful stories of loss that life has to offer. Marina was not planning to write a second book, but she was encouraged by her publisher, Simon & Schuster, because the first book was received so well, and because she was really working on this. I think what she's doing is a real gift to the world. She was reluctant because she said people don't rush to read books about forgiveness, especially ones that don't offer simple answers or solutions. We want answers. So the exploration on forgiveness challenges simplistic definitions of the act for forgiveness that feels impossible in relation to the harm that has been done, as Fran mentioned. The Algerian-French philosopher Jacques Derrida comes to the conclusion that forgiveness is only effective if it is difficult, because in his view, the only wrongdoing that calls for forgiveness is that which is unforgivable. Forgiveness should not be normative, or normalizing. It should remain exceptional and extraordinary in the face of the impossible. Sadie Birdsong blames the abuses of forgiveness on Christianity. Condemning people who won't forgive and forget, turn the other cheek, is a deeply ingrained religious hangover from Christianity, she says. We condemn persons who won't forgive, saying they are poisoning themselves, which is paramount to another Abrahamic guilt trip. It was the Christian faith, though, that moved the members of victims' families to forgive 21-year-old white Dylan Roof, who murdered 9 people at Mother Emanuel Baptist Church in Charleston, West Virginia in 2015, after they invited him generously to join them in a Bible study. While some people found comfort in this remarkable refusal to hate, others felt differently. Some people asked the question, does Black forgiveness only serve to encourage white violence? Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote about this in his book, Between the World and Me, as he reflected on the callous police shooting of his friend Prince Jones. He was angered at the case with which the Black community forgave. He concludes, the need to forgive the police officer would not have moved me because in some inchoate form, I knew that Prince was not killed by a single police officer, but that he was killed by a country and all the fears that have marked it from birth. I did not believe in forgiveness. Marina read this shortly after the murder of George Floyd in the autumn of 2020, and she worried that stories of forgiveness she has collected and promoted around the world might, in certain circumstances, make people feel yet another layer of oppression, namely the duty to pardon or the pressure to forgive. She also felt deeply that everyone working in the field of forgiveness, including ministers, need to tread carefully. Because where there is structural injustice, we have the moral obligation to work to transform and dismantle these institutions of power. We are a nation addicted to the pornography of violence, and we have become desensitized to the endless violence done to Black victims in this country. Murder has become entertainment, and the exploitation of violence that ends in tragedy is a lucrative business. As someone who has experienced this firsthand, the deep harm caused by those who would exploit tragedy for profit, I didn't hesitate to share my story with Marina. Elie Wiesel once said, exploiting human tragedy for the wrong reasons is vulgar. In order not to betray the dead and humiliate the living, this demands a special sensibility, a different approach, a rigor strengthened by respect and reverence, and above all, faithfulness to memory. If you must participate, he said, in the exploitation of another's tragedy, make certain that your goal is to elevate humanity. I have never doubted Marina's motives. Marion Partington, whose sister was murdered by serial killers Fred and Rosemary West, explained that she has forgiven the unrepentant Rosemary West in that she might live a full life and not be stuck in a place of revenge. As Fran said, you can't hold on to it. The Buddha said it's like holding on to a hot coal. You will be burned if you don't let it go. But is it necessary to forgive in order to be freed from the need for revenge? I don't think so. Father Michael Lapsley, a priest and a member of the African National Congress, was living in exile in Zimbabwe when he was sent a letter bomb through the mail. Father Michael says that it was after he moved from New Zealand to South Africa that his identity shifted from just being a man to being a white man. And he could not participate in the dehumanizing, institutionalized system of segregation, so he became an apartheid activist. When he opened the parcel, Father Michael lost both hands, one eye, and both of his eardrums were shattered. The bomb had been placed between the pages of a religious magazine and sent by the senior officials of South Africa's security forces. Father Michael was a threat to their status quo. It was an attempt to silence an outspoken supporter of South Africa's liberation struggle. Father Michael has always maintained that he doesn't hold on to hate, and nor does he forgive. He doesn't know who made the bomb. He doesn't know who sent the bomb. If someone were to knock on his door and say, I am the one who sent you the bomb, I don't know how I would respond. I might say to the person, excuse me, sir, do you still make letter bombs? If he were to say, no, I work around the corner at the Red Cross Children's Hospital, will you forgive me? My answer would be, yes, of course, I will forgive you. And perhaps we would sit and drink tea. And I say, well, sir, I have forgiven you, but I still have no hands. I will always need someone to assist me for the rest of my life. Of course, you will pay for that person, not as a condition of forgiveness, but as a part of reparation and restitution. Father Michael is the founder of the Institute for the Healing of Memories in South Africa. He has what he refers to as bicycle theology. He asserts that he has become a better person and a better priest since the bombing, but he points out that even though his humanness and limitedness may demonstrate how compassion and gentleness are stronger than evil and hatred, this is still not forgiveness. If someone were to steal your bicycle, would you just shrug it off and tell them, I forgive you? No. First, you would want your bicycle returned, and then you can offer forgiveness. That's his bicycle theology. He reiterates, often we reduce forgiveness to saying sorry, but we don't commit ourselves to reparation and restitution, which are the key elements of forgiveness. The former Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, warned against the danger of forgiving too readily. I think the 20th century saw such a level of atrocity that has focused our minds very, very hard on the dangers of forgiving too easily. For if forgiveness is easy, it is as if the suffering didn't matter. Psychotherapist Robin Shohet, who was drawn to forgiveness after being asked to co-write a book about revenge with a colleague, after gathering the stories from Northern Ireland and Israel and Palestine, from couples who had acrimonious divorces and from families who were locked into conflict, they set up workshops to gather additional materials. And during the workshops, there was much laughter as people recognized that they were all in it they were all at it in gross or subtle ways: gossiping, put-downs, forgetting, being late, not doing the dishes, sulking, withholding, refusing to acknowledge someone, envy, infidelity, being a failure, being a success. While none of these things might seem as vengeful at all, they all could be viewed through the lens of revenge in certain context. So this book that they set out to write about revenge was never written. Shohet and his colleague began hosting conferences on forgiveness after recognizing that revenge is a dead end. In the sense of the quote, "He who plots revenge should dig 2 graves." And with the discovery that revenge as an attempt to restore power does not work, being obsessed with revenge keeps people tied to the wound and the person who has done the wounding. Marina, in her book, reflects on this by acknowledging the lure of revenge and how it can give one a sense of identity. She quotes Dante's The Count of Monte Cristo. "Don't take away my hatred, it is all I have." She writes, "Fighting for a cause can give life purpose and an opportunity to claim the moral high ground, fighting against the oppressors." Shohet's essay, Forgiveness in Practice, points to an underlying reason for holding on to our hatred or our desire for revenge. When a man spends time in therapy complaining about his wife's attacks on him, after giving him time to build a case against his wife, Shohet says, "It has nothing to do with her. It is your own self-hatred." Shohet explains it this way: when the internal critic is too painful to bear, we project its wrath outward and find scapegoats who provide targets for our intolerance. This book is really filled. I hope you'll buy it because it's just really worth reading. 90-something James Roos Evans, who is a priest and a writer on ritual and meditation, shared a story with Marina about a time a close colleague and friend wrote him a 4-page letter demolishing his entire life, his character, and his work. Out of the wisdom he accrued over his long life, he responded with a note: "The bridge is down, but would you like to come to lunch and let us rebuild the bridge?" She came to lunch. The letter was never brought up. She seemed relieved that friendship had not been broken. Instead of getting angry and hitting back, James reflected on where his colleague was coming from and what unresolved conflict had unleashed such rage or jealousy in them. What was it in him that provoked such a reaction? Bell Hooks, in conversation with Maya Angelou, said, "For me, forgiveness and compassion are always linked. How do we hold people accountable for wrongdoing and yet at the same time remain in touch with their humanity enough to believe in their capacity to be transformed?" Primo Levi wrote about the Auschwitz concentration camp guards. "These are not monsters. I did not see a single monster in my time in the camp. Instead, I saw people like you and I who were acting in that way because there was fascism, Nazism in Germany. Should some form of fascism or Nazism return, there would be people like us who would act in the same way everywhere." Forgiveness is not about forgiving, but the act of forgiving the imperfections that are inherent in all of us, said Samantha Lawyer. And Ben Okri said, "Stories are the secret reservoir of values. Change the stories individuals and nations live by and tell themselves, and you can change the nation and the individuals." So herein lies the challenge. As a Unitarian Universalist, I am taught to uphold the worth and dignity of every person. I cannot categorize people as evil or good, as monsters or inhuman or human. I can only seek to find their humanity, even when that person is the murderer of your child. Reading this book has opened up for me many levels, new levels of my understanding of my own journey of walking toward forgiveness for the past 20 years. And for this, I am grateful. Marina interviewed me in 2013 and shared parts of that interview in both of her books on forgiveness. And she shared my story near the end of the second book in a chapter she titled, Out of the Straitjacket. There was something she said that caught me by surprise, something I didn't expect. I told her about my journey toward forgiveness and how it began with learning from Sister Helen Prejean, who wrote the book Dead Man Walking and was later made into a movie with Sean Penn and Susan Sarandon. She doesn't look anything like Susan Sarandon. She's beautiful, however. She told me how horribly the mother of the two murderers, they were brothers, was treated. It was so bad that she had to stop leaving her home. Even at the grocery store, people hurled mean comments and hateful looks, and kids cut up dead animals and threw them on her porch. When I heard this, I immediately felt compassion for that mother and realized that there was something worse than being the mother of a murdered child, and that is to be the mother of a murderer. I've always said that Sister Helen poked a hole in my darkness that day. Even a tiny beam of light can illuminate the darkness, and it was the beginning of my journey toward forgiveness. I also told Marina that I had asked to meet the mother of Leslie's murderer at the close of Eric Koppel's trial, sentencing hearing. We didn't have a trial. We had managed to have a plea agreement to avoid the trial. We couldn't bear the thought of living through more exploitation, the likes of Nancy Grace and all of the television media. So after the hearing was over and the media left the room, I would not meet her in front of them. The defense attorney brought her over to meet me. Marina shared this in her book. She wrote, this is what I said. I was absolutely terrified, but I knew when I saw her coming toward me, I needed to meet her. Excuse me. I was stunned by how much we looked alike. We were about the same age. We both had kind of curly hair. Eric Koppel was 26 years old, and my daughter was 26 years old. And I thought immediately, oh my God, I am her. She is me. We are both two mothers grieving the loss of our children. And then we just embraced. And there was such relief and compassion in that embrace. She added, as she was moving on from my story to another person's story, because there are so many, well into our conversation, I asked Kathy how she felt about forgiveness, realizing that this might be a subject hard to access. But because of her many years' experience as a Unitarian Universalist minister, I was interested if that was something she hoped to achieve. Kathy replied, 2 years after Leslie died, I read in the news about the Amish having forgiven the shootings at their school. I went to my grief counselor's office, stormed in here, and I said, damn the Amish, I don't believe it. I don't trust it. I can't forgive. How can they forgive? And he wisely replied, it's not that they instantly forgave, Kathy. Their faith calls them to walk that path toward forgiveness. And I thought, oh, I could do that. The Nicaraguans have a saying, you make your way by walking. I could do that. I'm still walking towards it. Jesus remarkably forgave his murderers as he was dying on the cross, and I've always tried to follow the teachings of Jesus, but forgiving the murder of my daughter and for the loss of my never to be held in my arms grandchildren, babies that my arms ache to hold, It still seems inconceivable to me after 20 years. Honestly, I'm terrified at the thought of facing the murderer of my child one day. And I don't know if I ever will have the courage and the grace to do that. But it is my hope, and it is my prayer. Marina concluded, a week after I met Kathy, I happened to cross paths with Sister Helen Prejean, who was speaking at the Roman Catholic Basilica of St. Mary in downtown Minneapolis. Here in a church which describes itself as a place of refuge for the poor, the example of grace came up again. Sister Helen was describing the first time she met a man on death row. Having never come face to face with a murderer before, she did not know what kind of monster to expect. But then I looked into his eyes, she said, and I saw humanness. It was a moment of grace. Sometimes we have to have our hearts broken to get to a new place where we can reconfigure everything in our lives. And Marina wrote, I thought of Kathy. So I'm still processing those words since I read them 2 years ago. But I can tell you they have affected me, much like the time Sister Helen poked a hole in my darkness. She did it again. And I don't have words or metaphor yet, but she has succeeded in shifting the sands of my life and shedding new light on my path toward forgiveness. And I pray I will have the courage to continue that journey. I think I'm done. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 20 in the gray hymnal, Be Thou My Vision.
Please remain standing as we say the words for extinguishing our chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
These words are from the Reverend Jane Zupka. When all is quiet and we are small and the night is dark, may we hear the tender breathing of all who lie awake with us in fear, that together we may gather the strength to live with love and kindness and confidence. May you look with your own eyes and listen with your own ears and sing your own song, and may your heart be opened so that you remember to walk in beauty in each and every moment of every day along the path of your life's journey. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Amen. And when October goes, the snow begins to fly above the smoky roofs. I watch the planes go by, the children running home beneath a twilight sky. Oh, for the fun of them, when I was one of them. And when October goes, the same old dream appears, and you are in my arms to share the happy years. I turn my head away to hide the helpless tears. Oh, how I hate to see October go. And when October goes, the same old dream appears, and you are in my arms to share the happy years. I turn my head away to hide the helpless tears. Oh, how I hate to see October go. I should be over it now, I know. It doesn't matter.